And our next guest is former ITN Royal Editor Tim Ewart. Tim, great to have you back with us again. Now, since the last time we spoke, the Sussexes have in fact been invited to the coronation, and now they're apparently making demands. Can you tell us what they're asking for?
Mainly status. I think that's what it really comes down to, Caroline, status and respect. And I think what we need to remember in this mess, and it is a mess, and at the moment it's threatening to overshadow the coronation, what we need to remember is that Harry is still fifth in line to the throne. For everything that's happened, he is still a senior royal. So there are issues over the way that he's treated and the way that he's protected when he and his wife possibly, although she may not come, when they come or if they come to the coronation. There are questions about a position in the royal procession after the coronation, because that's going to be a big moment when Charles and by then Queen Camilla are paraded through the streets in this golden carriage, followed by members of the royal family. Should Harry take part in that? Well, yes, his status as the son of the king requires that he should, really, but he's not any longer a working royal. Where should he sit during the ceremony? Should he be on the balcony for the waving, the traditional waving to the public afterwards from the balcony of Buckingham Palace? And what sort of security should he be provided with once he sets foot on British soil? And that is a very sore point for Harry. He is very angry about that. So there are a lot of issues. Now, Charles clearly wants his son at the coronation. He and Meghan have been invited. Their children at the moment have not. Should they have a role? Should they be recognized? Because they're now, of course, prince and princess. So there's still a lot to negotiate and a lot to discuss. And my sense is that the palace have extended the invitation and they're now just able to say, look, guys, the ball is in your court. If you don't want to come, let us know. If you do want to come, you're going to have to play by our rules.
And fair enough, I think plenty of people would say. And look, we often talk about how the various royals are perceived, not just what they do, but the way they're perceived. Does this sort of behaviour, and particularly the making of demands, does that make things more difficult than they have to be for the Sussexes?
Yeah, I mean, quite clearly, the Sussexes are becoming extremely unpopular in this country. Now, it would be unfair to say that that is an opinion held by everybody. There are a lot of particularly younger people in Britain who like the Sussexes, who like the diversity that they bring to the royal family, who like the sort of modern lifestyle that they lead, who respect the way that Harry has been so ready to tell his story, to bare his soul, if you like. But the vast majority of people, to be blunt, have had enough of it. We've had the book, we've had the documentaries, we seem to be hearing Harry talking about his personal issues all the time. And the majority of Brits really, really don't care for it any longer. And to be blunt, I think wish they'd just be quiet and go away and stay in America if that's what they want to do. So another of the issues around this whole coronation is if Harry and Meghan come, particularly if Meghan comes, are there likely to be protests? Will public anger be expressed against them? We know there are going to be demonstrations by the Republican movement, which is still small in this country, to be fair, but there are going to be protests at the coronation against the monarchy. But it's not impossible that there would also be insults shouted at Harry and Meghan. So it really, really is a complicated business. But their standing in this country has now fallen. They're extremely unpopular. They have a minus popularity rating in such polls as we're able to read about them. So a lot of people really won't be very welcoming when they come here.
And I guess when you've got an open air sort of procession and you've got lots of people around, I guess there's only so much you can plan for. There's always going to be something that can go awry or something that is said that the royal family can't plan over. But, I think as the Sussexes, they continue to disparage the royal family. One wonders what attachment they actually have to their titles. And I think people are rightly asking, what is next for the couple?
Well, as far as the titles are concerned, this is really quite a complicated one because if you read social media here, the comment sections on the online newspapers and so forth, particularly the more conservative newspapers like the Daily Mail, who Harry particularly dislikes. If you read those comments and talk to people, a lot of people will say it's nonsense. If they don't want to be part of the royal family, they shouldn't be the Duke and Duchess anymore. But that's really quite a tricky issue, to put it mildly, because to strip them of those titles would require an act of parliament. The king, the monarch, does not have the right to do that on his own. He can take away their Royal Highness titles, or at least require them not to use them, which is the position at the moment with both Harry and Meghan, and in fact with Prince Andrew. They are still theoretically their Royal Highnesses, although they've agreed not to use those titles in public. But the process of stripping Harry, again, let's not forget he's fifth in line to the throne. The process of stripping him of his dukedom is quite a big thing, and that would have to go to Parliament. How would MPs vote? Well, it's a tough one to guess, but my sense is that's a process that at the moment the king would be not very keen on starting.
But I guess it's always up to them whether they use them or not.
Yeah.
I think at some stage they're going to have to pick a horse and ride it, aren't they? They can't just sit in this purgatory, so to speak, for much longer.
No, obviously not. And they don't want to work, well, they no longer want to work as full-on royal members of the working part of the royal family. I mean, yes, they want their cake and eat it, don't they, really? That's kind of what it comes to, because the titles that they hold are all part of their appeal in the United States, which is their market, with the Netflix deals and all that. They are the Duke and Duchess. He is a prince. Their children are now prince and princess. So that's a big marketing plus for them. If they just become plain Mr. and Mrs., they're not going to be a very saleable item.
Yeah, and just on that next Netflix series, look, Meghan took quite the swipe at Kate over the course of that production, but instead of taking a swipe back, Kate has gone on the charm offensive, we see. Can you tell us about how Kate is taking back control of her narrative?
Well, to be honest, this contest which the papers love to portray, and they've always liked this, the two duchesses, who is going to be the most popular and so on. I mean, this contest is a no-brainer now. There is only one winner in this popularity contest, and that's Kate, because she has steadily been growing in popularity all the while this row has been going on. And in fact, she is now, according to many surveys, the most popular member of the royal family. She's just taken on board a new private secretary who comes from a PR background, a lady who worked with the chef Jamie Oliver. And she is rebranding, if you like, Kate. We read that Kate has got a hairstylist now who is giving her what some newspapers like to call a Bond girl look. I'm not sure that's something that Kate herself would necessarily like. But her public appearances are increasingly relaxed. She really, really has, and I don't want to sound sycophantic here, but she really has grown into the role. I remember back in 2012, her first public appearance, the first speech she made on her own as a new member of the royal family, and she was really, really nervous and uncomfortable. All that has changed. She has a very good dress sense. The papers love it. They write endlessly about the outfits she wears, and she reuses a lot of the outfits that she wears, thereby ticking the sustainability box. And she is also now heading up this initiative to make people aware of the importance of the first 5 years of a child's life. So out in public, she is really, I have to say, she's really smashing it at the moment. She is the number one popular member of the royal family. And for Meghan even to think about competing with that now, it might have been different had things not deteriorated as they did, it might very well have been different, but it isn't. Kate doesn't really need to fight back exactly. She just needs to carry on doing what she's doing.
Now, on to Camilla. I always like talking about Camilla. I find her really interesting. And look, she remains polarising. But I can't help but feel like she has played a really good long game. How does Charles's coronation reflect as a success for Camilla?
Well, she's played a blinder. When I was working full time and following the royals, I made no secret. She was my favourite royal. She was, in a personal sense, dealing with us as the media. She didn't speak publicly, but she was great. I remember travelling in a same train carriage as her on a trip she did to Paris, and she was having a cigarette with everybody and chatting away. I think she has done a remarkable job in winning over the British public, having started out, if you remember the headlines, as Britain's most hated woman, the woman who broke up the marriage of Charles and Diana. But she's played a long game. She's kept quiet. She hasn't commented in public, apart from a few of the issues that she is personally interested in, literacy being one of them. But she's played the royal role the way that the public like to see it. She hasn't been controversial, and gradually the papers have warmed to her. Now, that is not to say, again, that there won't be people, and there will be quite a few, who will feel uncomfortable when she is crowned. She is going to have the imperial crown placed on her head at the coronation. She is the Queen Consort, but increasingly is using the title Queen, Queen Camilla. Now, there will be people who find that one a little bit tricky, not least, one has to say, Prince Harry, who's made it very clear that he was uncomfortable, and his brother, about her entering the royal family. But this will be, for her, this coronation is kind of the last lap of a long, long race. She started out as Charles's mistress at a time when he would not have been able to remarry as the head of the Church of England. She's come a long way now. Now she has married the then future king, and in a few weeks' time, she's going to be crowned next to him as queen.
Yeah, it does seem like the most exceptional journey, and like we've discussed, over such a long period of time, it has been quite something to watch. Look, that's it for this evening. Thank you so much, Tim Ewart, for joining us again, and we'll be speaking to you shortly.
My pleasure.